Oh, there we go. Now you should be able to hear me. Much better. Right, I didn't start anything yet because I was waiting for you. So, this is basically the waveform that I start out with. This is all recorded locally. We talk on Skype, but we also use this program Audacity to record the audio from the mic simultaneously. Sometimes Skype will fight with Audacity a little bit, but basically you just end up with essentially the local audio only. So each one of these is recorded by each person individually, and then we transfer our own files to, say, Dropbox, and then I drop those into the Audacity project, basically. Now, the thing is that everybody could start recording at different times for different lengths of time. You can see that this one goes, a good 15 minutes longer. So what we do in order to synchronize the audio tracks is we do a clap. We actually, on this, on our video call, we actually count down 3, 2, 1, clap, and that leaves something that you can see. So there are some places where you kind of get an audio spike, but you can kind of see right here if we listen to it. So that's my clap, and then I can find the similar thing on someone else's right here, and then I can find the similar thing on someone else's, which is here, and that becomes the starting point for each of those tracks. And there's more talking that goes on, like there's me talking about stuff right here. So, I've got about 10 to 15 minutes, 12 minutes it looks like, of just like pre-show, just like goofing around. So basically what I do is I zoom in real close to my clap, I find the peak part of the clap, and I highlight everything before that using my keyboard, and I literally just delete it out. So now I end up with a shorter amount of length on that. I do the same thing for each of these others. Find the peak part of the wave on that, hold down Shift, hit home, delete that out to the starting point as well, and you can see it's already starting to line up here. Then we go to the last one, and let's see, where was that clap on this one? Yeah, right there. So we find the peak part of the wave on that, delete it, and what you end up with now is 3 claps that all line up. And then we maybe even do a little bit more talking. Oh, but actually we just went ahead and started. So here is actually the beginning of the podcast right here. So those claps don't end up, they end up getting all deleted out simultaneously as well. So I basically just find the very first part of the talking, and I hold down Shift, hold all that down, delete that out, and now what we have is 3 audio tracks that line up basically exactly, and they're all synchronized. So if we listen to discussion, and then it all lines up. So that's the trick to getting everything with multiple people all lined up together is you just do that clap to synchronize, and that becomes your base point for all of the stuff from there. So you can probably see from the wave that this one's a little bit fuzzy, and sometimes little fuzzes come up in other places. That's background noise. So the first thing that I typically do is I isolate one track, I have a listen, and I look up here, and you can see that there's some noise going on, and you might even be able to hear it a little bit. And in Audacity, there's a feature here that is noise removal. And the way it works is you take a sample of some background noise, and then you highlight the whole thing, and you say, step 2 is, I just leave all these default settings. I'm assuming they all work. Hit OK. And then it basically takes that sample and it sort of uses that noise and isolates everything else out from that. So it basically gets you some nice clean starting audio. And it takes a little while to do. And once it's finished, you can go back to that one track, and you can actually see how it's smoothed over some of it a little bit. And now if I play it and listen to some silence, you can see that it's mostly silent now. Okay, so then I do that with the others as well. So this particular person is a clicker, so I try and make sure that my background noise doesn't have clicks in it, or sniffs. So that's a pretty good sample. And I go to noise removal, get the noise profile, select the whole thing, go back to noise removal, hit OK, and I do the same thing with the second track, and then I do the same thing with the third track. And that's more or less how I get started. Now after that, you can sort of decide how much work you want to do to get rid of other noises and stuff. So you can see that with his clicks, so watch this. You can still hear everyone. Which for some people that might be okay, but I actually I scrub through the entire audio file all the way to the end, and I go through and I search out stuff like that, just like little noises, and I highlight it, and there's a shortcut key here for silence, which is somewhere. I don't know where to show it in the menu, but basically you hit the letter S. So here's my tiny little noise that I'm trying to get rid of, and I hit the letter S, and it wipes it out. So now it's totally silent. And this part is like a lot more tedious. So for some people it's not really a big deal, but I hate listening to people type on podcast. I really hate it. So I actually literally go through the whole thing. And usually the person who's talking, you don't have to worry about their stuff too much. So I usually go and look at the other people's tracks, and I flatten those out. And I go through the whole thing and do that. And that is one reason why I think my podcast is special, because I eliminate a lot of extra noises and just crummy stuff. People typing in the background, like you can hear that. I mean, listen. You can just hear typing. So I'd rather have it sound like this with no typing. So to me, it's kind of a big deal. I realize that not everyone might feel that way about it, and I realize that even people who are listening may not really notice or care, but it's important to me. So in this particular podcast, everybody kind of gets their turn to talk. So here someone is talking about the games that he played. Here it gets handed off to someone else talking about the games that he played. Then here is the third person talking about the games that he played. That's me. And then you go through and do that. Then for music intros and outros, I don't actually have anything selected right now. I actually have not chosen music yet. I know kind of where I want to get music from. In the case of my show, I do not have standard music for every single episode. I don't have a standard intro or a standard outro. I like to choose unique music for every episode, both for the intro and for the outro, and I like to make it, appropriately up-tempo for the intro, get that good beat going in. I like it to be a little bit more down, epic or exciting or downbeat maybe on the outro to kind of calm it down and cool it off. So I spend a lot of time, outside of the audio program, looking at video game soundtracks and music that I think is appropriate, and I specifically do it from the games that we talked about. So we also keep a Google Doc outline of the games that we are going to talk about so that I can keep track of it. And I will go around kind of looking at YouTube or, Bandcamp or SoundCloud or wherever video game scores get published, and I will take samplings of the best audio from that game or from the available games that we talked about, and I will put that in the front and in the back of the podcast. There is, I can't show it to you right now because I don't have it ready, but there is a tool up here, the envelope tool, that allows you to, fade stuff in or out. So if this were music, you can actually like fine tune it to match up with the music. What I do is I insert some silence at the beginning, so I'll insert like 30 seconds of silence on each of these tracks at the beginning, and then paste the music in as a fourth track, and then I will fade it out like I just showed you using the envelope tool at a certain point, so that it becomes just a music bed. And then I do the same thing for the end of the podcast, just in reverse. I fade the music in at the end after everyone finishes talking. Oh, I didn't clip off the end here, so at some point everybody's like, oh, goodbye. And then we cut off our recordings, so I just delete that, cut that off the end, and we've got about 42 minutes of podcast plus whatever music I add on both ends. And that's more or less how it works. So hopefully you found that to be helpful. And I now have a lot of work to do to clear out all of the little types and clicks and sniffs and all the little sounds. So I will go ahead and do that. So hopefully that helps. I know you'd wanted to know more about it. So there you go. See you later.